Guys, it's Eric. For those that know me, know I'm a ham, and I don't know how to talk to myself and be funny. It's a strange feeling to put a video together in an effort to try to promote yourself. It's an odd feeling, and it's not that it's bad. It's just that I don't know how to do it without losing my train of thought. I found a way, I think, to create a combination of accessibility and home construction without the need for aesthetic modifications to the house. And it has to do with engineering of the home itself. So I have engineers involved, architects involved, and I also have occupational therapy and other professionals working on the planning of this from the physical structure standpoint. A home that people can live in that's safe and adaptable for the long term, you know, and the good part about it is that, you know, there's no reason for them, to leave down the road. So it's an interesting concept. Because of some CMS changes and some regulation changes, I was able to kind of connect some dots that people probably didn't think that needed to be connected. But I mean, I've got 30 years experience in both construction, which is just a skill set. It's not impressive, I just know how to do stuff. But beyond that, I have an understanding of the mechanics of healthcare and business, as well as the mechanics of construction. And if you put all those together, you have a pretty amazing opportunity to be of service to people in a very true and sincere way. Bottom line, about a year and a half ago, I left my corporate job in healthcare as an executive to pursue a construction career that really involves an idea that is unique. And it's unique in a way that is beyond my understanding, because I'm not smart enough to think of something like this. But my brain created this thought when I was feeling sorry for myself one day, worrying about, you know, a personal family situation with my parents, and some that, you know, my mom passed in Christmas Eve of 2024. A lot of time up to that moment was dealing with my mother's and my father, for that matter, who's still around, but dealing with I'm gonna call it stubborn because I'm a kid, you know, talking about a parent, but I'm gonna say that it's more like it's difficult to describe a feeling, and those that have gone through it know what I'm talking about. It's the aging parent that is basically stuck in their home because their fear of losing the aesthetic that they've worked so hard for so many years to create will be gone at the time when they want to enjoy it the very most, which is after they're spending the majority of their daylight hours, you know, at home. And unfortunately, my mom and dad have a nicer home in a nicer neighborhood in Lexington, Kentucky, and they just didn't want to destroy the aesthetic in their mind. My mom and dad decided that they would rather leave the house aesthetically the way it was than to deal with the hassle of the renovation, remodeling, and things like that. And it frustrated me as their son primarily, but then on top of that, I've worked for 30 plus years as an executive in healthcare, but also I have worked a little bit longer, since I was about 16 or 17, in the construction industry. I've done everything from heavy industry to healthcare construction, to build surgery centers, medical office buildings, doctor's offices, you know, private homes. I've built high-end retail, you know, even here in Lexington. If you're from where I live, you can see some of the stuff I've done. I just don't really advertise because I've always worked for other people, and they found out what my skill sets were. They put me to use because they could get it for basically free. And they did. And the downside for me was that I loved it and didn't really get paid extra for it, but it was a skill set that I was able to exercise while I was doing, you know, business stuff. But I also built stuff along the way, and not just little odds and ends, but some very complex, sizable construction projects. So that's to say I know what I'm doing, meaning I have the technical skills to put together something in such a way that is requiring detail beyond the normal spectrum. And anytime the government gets in and says, hey, you need to do things a certain way, what ends up happening is they have a million people, maybe literally, maybe not after dose, but they'll maybe have 1,000 people that are involved in these decision-making processes, and everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's got to have their 2 cents put in. Everybody's got to, do their own thing. And as a result of that, you get stacks of, regulations that are that thick. And I'm not exaggerating. They're that crazy. And that's just to put a building together where you can do surgery on somebody. And there are a lot of good, reasons for that kind of, detail and attention to the small stuff, because it's people's lives, and more practically speaking, it's liability. So you try to hedge all that liability, so you overbuild things in an effort to be safe, but also to mitigate risk. So I've combined the two into an idea that is, to be frank with you, it's wild. I don't have a good explanation for it. It's not being done anywhere else, and it's not because the demand isn't there. It's just because nobody's looking at the problem the way that I did. And I think the combination of the fact that my mother basically became a prisoner of her home for the last 10 years of her life due to, she had a hip replacement, and then that netted a knee replacement, and then another knee replacement. My mom died, in her early 80s, and 81, and she spent the last 10 years of her life rehabbing, basically. Because, when you have a hip replacement or a knee replacement, you don't just get over that and go on about life. You have problems, you fall. And if you have age-related risk, meaning she's older, bones are brittle, osteoporosis, postmenopausal, all that stuff, she had all those things. And as a result of that, she was brittle. So when she would fall as a result of a weaker knee that was getting weak because of a hip implant that was a little too long, or the recovery on the second knee after the first knee was already healed, there were slips and there were falls, and she'd fall in the bathroom or she'd fall in the closet. Thank God she didn't get hurt severely, but the fact that she was so unstable and really unsafe for herself that she was kept as a prisoner in her own home by choice. She was able to go places. They had, installed 3 electric chair lifts. Everything they have is on the second floor of the house. There's 3 levels, second level, main level, and basement. And in the basement, there's nothing. It's just a pit basement and some water down there, but there's no toilet or anything like that. In the second level, there's an old colonial style house, so you have a small, single bathroom that, is like old school. Just enough room to get in, wash your hands, use the bathroom, or in reverse order. It's just big enough for you to get in there. It's not big enough to turn around. It's certainly not big enough to accommodate even a walker. But that's the standard construction process for decades. The half baths are a little bit bigger if the homes are a little bit bigger, but at the end of the day, the accessibility is zero. And I appreciate your prayers, and my family certainly covets those as well, and I'll try to keep you posted as things evolve. But this is a really cool thing, and I'm glad to be able to share it with you. So I hope you stayed with it the whole time, but if you didn't, that's okay. I'll try to shorten it down. See ya.